ladies and gentlemen, to BTC presents our Smackdown Live Recap Show. I'm your host, Ray Filipino. Chris Adams and Mike Hearns have the night off tonight, so you will have the joy of dealing with me. And tonight we will be talking about Smackdown Live this evening. We will also be discussing, I say we because I'm so used to it being multiples, I will also be mentioning the NXT TakeOver for this Saturday and going down the match list for that and giving you my opinions on that. And also, I will be going down the match list for Backlash this Sunday. So without further ado, let's get started. And tonight's show started off with Kevin Owens doing his version of the highlight reel. And he's basically gloating about he injured his former best friend. And one of the highlights of this highlight reel, so to speak, no pun intended, was the fact that JBL stated maybe Kevin Owens is just borrowing the Geritron 5000 or 3000 or whatever it is nowadays. Kevin Owens, being he, also mentions that Chris Jericho is on the only list he deserves to be, and that's the injured list. Well, AJ Styles ends up coming out from the back and stating that he will be bringing the United States title back to the United States. Now, I feel that this is going to be a very good match this Sunday. Well, in the midst of all of this commotion and bantering back and forth, you have the number one contender for the WWE Championship, Jinder Mahal, and the Singh brothers emerging to basically state that, you know, they are going to defeat Randy Orton on Sunday, about how AJ Styles doesn't stand a chance tonight. Well, that leads to our opening bout for this evening. And our opening bout is AJ Styles versus Jinder Mahal. Now, it is definitely a fast-paced match. And in my opinion, it was something interesting to see because of the fact that Jinder Mahal has elevated and has more or less, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Progressed. He has progressed in his in-ring abilities. And to see him step up against a guy like AJ Styles, a man that has been in this industry for the better part of 15 years. I mean, he dates all the way back to WCW. And I've stated this many a times, that if you think about it, WCW, when they had the Cruiserweight tag titles, was probably circa 1999 or 2000. So you're already looking at AJ Styles being on the main stage radar for about 17 years now. And that's not counting his training. To go up against a guy like Jinder Mahal, who has, in my opinion, like I stated, progressed. Well, the match ended up being a very, very high-octane match. And what can I say? If it wasn't for the interference of the Singh brothers distracting the referee, and then Kevin Owens hitting AJ Styles in the knee with the U.S. title, I really think AJ would have won the match. But he, being Mahal, wins via pinfall. And that I feel, now I don't know how I really necessarily feel about it playing out that way, because now you're showing AJ Styles to be weak. And now you're going to be showing him to go into the match this Sunday injured. Well, portrayed as injured. But they're really going to run with this Jinder Mahal thing in his dominance. And week after week, he seems to be picking up the wins. And I, for one, am not opposed to it because of the fact of how much work he has actually put in since his last run in the WWE. But I digress. So now we have the Fashion Files. And I really don't know how I feel about that. It's more of a filler segment, in my opinion. And, I mean, it's funny for what it's worth, but some memorable moments in that is Baron Corbin, 3 shirts, all wolves, and Vince McMahon's mugshot on the bulletin board. But that segues us into the match between the Colognes and Breezango. And the Colognes started off strong, battling Breeze in the corner, and Fandango charged in and basically steamrolled his opponents. The match wasn't even really that long. A Falcon Arrow ended up being hit by Fandango in the long run for the quick pin. And the Usos at the end came out to the entrance ramp and trash talked. And they showed off the championship titles before berating and belittling their opponents. And 2 things that were stated by the Usos was Jey Uso stating that this is not your precinct, pal. Welcome to the Uso Penitentiary. And Jimmy Uso basically saying, we have the right to put your ass in a gurney. I really like what they're doing with this. They're pretty much making Breezango faces now, and the only problem is I feel like it was too rushed due to the tag team division right now, with the Ascension not really being seen, the Vaudevillains being dismantled, and Simon Gotch being fired. I think American Alpha being in the doghouse because they were tag team champions, and then now they were supposed to be the top faces, but now you have Breezango as the faces, on top of them promoting the New Day. So I'm not really sure how that's going to work out in the long run, and I really do feel bad for American Alpha because they have worked so hard, and only to slide down the proverbial pole. This Sunday is shaping to be a very, very good match. Now, after that, you have the contract signing for the 6 women's tag match, which is now, Shane McMahon comes out, talks up the women's division before introducing all 6 women's to compete at Backlash. And the welcoming committee stared down Naomi, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch as they entered the ring. And by welcoming committee, we all know them as Carmella, James Ellsworth, Tamina, and Natalya. Now, Natalya derided them before even signing the contract. And Becky Lynch and Naomi more or less threatened the welcoming committee. But Charlotte Flair made it clear that she was going after the women's title after the match. And James Ellsworth told the baby faces, so to speak, I believe they're going by Gold, Glow, and Fire, or something along those lines. But that he stated that neither one of the females stood a chance with him. And Shane McMahon tried to prevent a brawl that nearly exploded, so he booked Naomi and Carmella in a match. And if he hadn't stopped, I feel that Naomi would have literally beaten the crap out of James Ellsworth. He basically stated that Carmella is going to, steal her flow, take her gold, and steal her glow as well, or something along those lines. Well, Naomi had enough of that. And at one point, Becky Lynch stated that there was no chance in hell that she was going to join their little goon squad. And Naomi, once again, states that she's going to snatch somebody bald, that I don't understand. And James Ellsworth says to Becky Lynch, "You have no chance in hell, duh." So, I mean, the pace of the segment wasn't great with all the entrants and the McMahon's bit, but it did its job. There is a bit more bad blood between the teams to set up for this Sunday, and the tension felt close to overflowing towards the end. Plus, Charlotte teased her next move and is likely we're going to revert back to her heel status. Now, James Ellsworth is playing a grating jerk well, and he's pulling off this whole manager thing, I think. And his animosity towards Becky Lynch is something that WWE should explore. I mean, a match between the two, something Lynch has lobbied for online, is the way to go. But I really feel that the WWE will refuse to do an intergender tag match. Now, a couple thoughts on the previous matches and segments beforehand. I did want to mention that with the opening segment with Kevin Owens' current persona has a distinct 2008 Jericho-ish feel about it. And that's definitely a good thing. And it's going to be really interesting to see him methodically, verbally tear his foes apart. Now, this wasn't a great example of that, though. Instead, it was a brief setup for the opening match and the WWE trying to hurry away from the Jericho-Owens rivalry to set up Kevin Owens' current state as United States champion and his current storyline. Now, the Styles and Owens issues haven't had time to fester before Backlash, and that's the other problem. Because you can't really build a sweet... This is what we've talked about many a times here on BTC, is storyline building. And this is where they're failing at it again. And it really won't be until after Backlash that the story really gains some kind of momentum. And as for Mahal, he was pretty solid here. I mean, the Singh brothers, though, remain the flattest of the characters because we really haven't seen much out of them, and we don't know anything about them or their motivations or why they're even aligned with Mahal. So that's going to be something else to watch. Now, in terms of the AJ Styles Jinder Mahal match, it was meant to showcase Mahal's viciousness, but basically turned out to be a one-sided bout that dragged out. I mean, like I said, the match was good for what it was worth, but it's hard not to produce something more electric opposing AJ Styles. And the announcers, as well as Kevin Owens, did a great job of selling that Mahal has pretty much caught fire of late, that he's on a roll, he's a dominant force and a formidable force right now. And Kevin Owens attacking added a very interesting element moving forward. Not only does that give AJ Styles more of a reason to take down the champ, but it'll be extra drama, so to speak, with the bad knee. And as far as, the fashion files are concerned, like I said, it's a touch of like an Edge and Christian thing going on in terms of comedy. But now, the Breezango Colognes match, it was a smart way for them to show Tyler Breeze suffering as much as he did in this match. Breezango's, like I said, Breezango's face turn was hurried, and showing Tyler Breeze's vulnerability makes him easier to root for, like they did in NXT. The match was nothing special. Like I said, it was more or less, a setup for this Sunday. What really stood out is the post promo. The Usos came off as nasty and very, very unsettling here as possible. And they were compellingly aggressive, even touched bloodthirsty. The more the Usos walk down the road, the more dangerous they seem. And the heel turn that they have with this is something that I think they finally did right with them. And it's still going to be something to watch. Now, back to where I was. You have Carmella versus Naomi. Now, Naomi chases down Carmella as both women allies stood at ringside. And the championship pounds her foe, and more or less shows true dominance in the match. And Ellsworth tries to protect Carmella, but the referee tosses him, ejects him right out of ringside. So Carmella uses distraction to try to take control and slow down the match and ground Naomi. Well, now Natalya and Tamina try to get involved in terms of distractions and intimidation, which the referee's not having any of that, so he then tosses them too. However, they refuse to leave and start brawling with Charlotte and Becky Lynch. And in the midst of the chaos, Carmella rolls up Naomi and gets the win. So Carmella wins by pinfall. Now, Naomi does have good energy and is a great performer. She's really fun to watch in the ring. And we really need to see her tested better in terms of where she's going to go and who she can compete against. The eventual direction that the feud is going to go with Charlotte Flair will allow her to reach the pivotal glass ceiling, so to speak, because of the fact that Charlotte is such a great in-ring competitor. It's going to be something to keep an eye on, as I like to say. Now, the match was solid. One was filled with all kinds of shenanigans on the outside, which, I don't know, that we could do without them. But Carmella did gain some momentum here with the win. It makes them look like they're more of a cohesive unit compared to Naomi, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch. Now, our main event is Randy Orton versus Baron Corbin. Now, in a backstage interview before this, Sami Zayn announces that he will be facing Baron Corbin at Backlash. But the Lone Wolf ended up ambushing him, leaving him sprawled out all over the floor. And in the ring, Orton basically out-wrestles Corbin early on in the match, series of headlocks, take down Baron Corbin. But eventually, Corbin takes over, hitting Randy Orton with power moves, strikes, getting the better of him. In the long run, Orton ends up recovering. Corbin ends up avoiding one RKO, but not avoiding a second one. And Baron Corbin ends up losing fair and square at that. After the bell, Jinder Mahal comes out, trash talks Orton, basically telling him he will not walk out of Backlash with the championship. Well, the Singh brothers try to pounce on Orton. Orton takes out the Singh brothers, but no sooner that he does that, Jinder Mahal attacks Randy Orton, takes out Orton, stands tall above Orton, holding the WWE Championship. Now, I feel it was a solid finish. The match featured great chemistry between Corbin and Orton. I actually enjoy seeing them wrestle It's pretty good for what we're working with, considering the size difference and the experience. It had slower pace than some of the fans would like, but it suited each other's style. This was basically more of a physical match than anything. Corbin looked more like a star every week that he's getting in this ring. Now, I know for a fact there are a lot of people that are not Baron Corbin fans. They're not intrigued. They're not impressed. They want nothing to do with Baron Corbin. He still looked really good despite his loss. Now, Jinder Mahal, his attack was a strong, lasting image to leave in your mind before Backlash. They continue to craft him looking dominant, so to speak, more or less trying to get you to forget about his quote-unquote jobber days. I mean, I understand that where they're trying to go with this due to where the WWE is expanding, but I think it's well-deserved either way. Now, in that aspect, I feel that SmackDown was pretty solid tonight. And it was, it was worthy of a go-home show for Backlash. Now, I would also like to talk to you about my thoughts on NXT TakeOver this Sunday. And I'll go down the match card with you guys and fill you in on my opinions, my views, and where I think everything will go. Now, first things first, there have been some releases that have happened in the world of wrestling, and being as this takeover is in Chicago, I feel that you might see an appearance by Adam Cole. Now, if you do, you know where this is going to go. And that will be Adam Cole will end up being the next heel to hold the NXT Championship once Bobby Roode is no longer holding it, because they haven't done it with Almost yet. And you know that the next face will probably be Hideo Itami, or it's going to be Drew McIntyre, for those that really only listen to or watch WWE. But he will be the next heel to hold the title. Now, the first match of the night will end up being a rematch for the UK title. Now, I don't understand why this is going to be there. This is NXT, not UK, especially considering that they are having a UK television show Friday. It doesn't make any sense. But hey, I don't create the bookings. I don't write the shows. It is what it is. So, the first match on the card is going to be Tyler Bate versus Pete Dunne. Now, their match at the UK tournament, the finals, I feel was phenomenal. It was definitely a tournament-worthy finals matchup that anybody would have been impressed with. Only problem is the experience and size difference, I feel, is what's going to falter. And the fact that there isn't really a huge following yet. And I think that's because we don't really see much of the contenders, for the exception of when they show up on NXT. So I really feel like the fans aren't going to necessarily be behind this match as much as we would think it is. And I can't really say much in terms of their history because we've only seen Tyler Bate on television, aside from the tournament, maybe 2 or 3 times. And we haven't seen Pete Dunne on television here in the States for the exception of the tournament. And from what I've seen from Tyler Bate, the kid is phenomenal. I mean, he's 19 years old, 20 years old, and he's got a long career ahead of him, a long, long future ahead of him. And from what I've seen in that tournament of Pete Dunne, he really, really reminds me a lot of William Regal. Just between him and Dave Taylor. I feel it's that down, gritty, brawler, technical beatdown style, so to speak. And it's something that I feel that the WWE is lacking in international competitors. I mean, you've got guys from Japan, Europe, Mexico, and I'll even say Canada. You know, you got Ireland, and have something that takes you back to the days of a Fit Finlay or a William Regal or a Dave Taylor or any of that. Or even a Nigel McGuinness, even though he's announcing. So I think seeing Pete Dunne win that match, in my opinion, is what's going to happen. It's going to be really, really good for everybody involved. Now, our second match of the evening, from my understanding and what I've gathered thus far, is going to be a tag team ladder match. And it's going to be between DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, and the Authors of Pain, led to the ring by the legendary Paul Ellering. Now, we are all big fans of DIY. And I know this, I can tell, especially when the fans are chanting, everything I read from the internet, they are the, I guess you could say, the underdogs. They're the Daniel Bryans or the Sami Zayns of the tag team division down there because of the fact that they are your quote-unquote internet darlings. Now, the Authors of Pain, I feel that they're going to win only because of the fact that Vince McMahon likes his big guys. Always has, always will. Which is a shame because, I mean, yeah, for big guys, they can do what they do. But for guys like Ciampa and Gargano, they deserve more. They should have been called up to the main roster by now, but they haven't. Now, the match itself, it's going to be another one of those killer matches because what we've seen out of the tag division in the past, I mean, you look at the matches between DIY and the Revival and American Alpha, American Alpha and it's gotten to the point that there have been, the title reigns have been so far and so long now that I can't even recall the tag team champions of the past now because it's just been longevity after longevity when it comes to these title reigns, which is what I enjoy. I really do. But they're going to try to make the Authors of Pain like the Ascension, dominant all the way around. And that's why I also feel that they're going to end up winning, which is going to be sad to say and sad to see. But the match itself is going to be very, 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 very good. I mean, if there's anything to compare it to, like they did with DIY and Gargano, the 2 previous matches, it's going to be a killer match to see. Now, the next one on the card is going to be Asuka versus Ruby Riott versus Nikki Cross. Now, this was initially supposed to be a fatal four-way, but Asuka ends up injuring Ember Moon, which is a shame because I think Ember Moon is extremely talented and she has a long road ahead of her. But they're not going to give anybody else the belt right now, I don't think, until probably SummerSlam. NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. And it's upsetting because I understand Asuka is this powerhouse, this dominant force right now. She's more or less the Brock Lesnar of the women's division. And there are people busting their hump to make a name. You have women that are coming in from the independent circuit, like Ruby Riott, for example, who used to be known as Heidi Lovelace. You have competitors like Kimber Lee, who I've met in person, and she is a sweetheart. You have all sorts of independent women, Candice LeRae, who's Johnny Gargano's wife. They're all coming in. They're all going to be making a name. And I feel that once the women's tournament is over with, that's when you're going to see, for example, the winner of the women's tournament taking on Asuka. And they're probably going to beat Asuka for the belt. But as of right now, I think the match is going to be a good match. It's been a decent build-up. It was a better build-up with Ember Moon. So we just have to see where it goes. Now, also, I did forget to mention that good old JR, Jim Ross, will be at NXT TakeOver Chicago. He will be announcing the UK Championship match with Nigel McGuinness. So it'll be good to hear JR calling matches again. Now, you have your NXT TakeOver Chicago main event, and it is the championship match between Bobby Roode and Hideo Itami. And it is going to be one hell of a match. If you had the opportunity to watch the number one contenders match between Roderick Strong and Hideo Itami, because of the fact of the matter that's really the only time you've got to see Hideo wrestle as of late because he's constantly on the shelf with an injury, then you're going to have an idea of what in this match. Because Bobby Roode, we've already seen him numerous times. One hell of an in-ring guy, great ring worker, always has been. I followed him back from his days with the long hair, the ponytail, the Mr. Money Man, Bobby Roode of TNA. And it has only progressed. He has only gotten better. And to see him in the ring with a guy like Hideo Itami, who is a former champion in New Japan and can definitely go the long run. That match with Roderick Strong, though, was something that you really, really have to go back and watch and just enjoy it, because it is a match, and like I've stated Sunday night, it's a match that is more or less a match of the year nominee. So, but my pick for this match is going to end up being Bobby Roode, only because they're not ready to take the belt off of him yet. He's going to be down there for a little while. I think they're going to set up to do, in the long run, Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Roode. Hence why Itami will not take it off of him. And I really don't feel that Itami is ready for it. So, yes, my predictions for TakeOver will be Pete Dunne taking the belt off Tyler Bate. It'll be the Authors of Pain defeating DIY, as much as I don't want to say that. Asuka defeating Ruby Riott and Nikki Cross. And Bobby Roode defeating Hideo Itami. Now, I want to talk to you guys about my predictions for Backlash. And thus far, this is what the match looks like. You have the kickoff show with Aiden English versus Ty Dillinger. And Ty Dillinger, I feel, is the man. And I feel Ty Dillinger is going to go a very, very long way in the WWE. I mean, it's taken him years to get where he's at, and he deserves every bit of it. But Aiden English, I feel, is just going to be one of those jobber guys. He was doing good. The solo guy in NXT. They teamed him up with Gotch, created the vaudeville. They started getting some steam and some headway, and Gotch went. So now they're going to waste. They're going to waste the talent of Aiden English. I mean, at this rate, he might as well just go home and sit down with his wife, who is Eddie Guerrero's daughter. But I'm taking Ty Dillinger for this one. Now, you also have Baron Corbin versus Sami Zayn. Now, I feel that the build-up is going to be great. Corbin's going to end up being a WWE champion at some point this year. I feel he's going to win the Money in the Bank. And I feel like they're going to build Sami Zayn up the way that they built Daniel Bryan up. They're going to make him the new underdog. It seems like every generation, more or less, or every 5 or 6 years, they have a new underdog. Well, this is what's going to be the underdog, and that's going to be Sami Zayn. But Corbin is currently out of both title pictures, and Sami Zayn came to the rescue of AJ Styles while Corbin was beating him down on recent SmackDown. So that caused the two to battle each other multiple times since. And realistically, looking at the way they're going to push Baron Corbin right now, the only logical reasoning behind it is to have Baron Corbin come out on top. It's sad to say because Sami Zayn, and I know everybody's tired of seeing the underdog, bring back El Generico. He's going to get his time. You know he's going to get his wins. You know he's going to get showcased. But right now it's just not it for him. And the match is going to go to Baron Corbin. Now, the next match you're going to have is Naomi, Charlotte, and Becky versus Natalya, Carmella, and Tamina. It's been building up for a while. The problem is Charlotte's face turn is not going to last long, which means that the face team of Naomi, Charlotte, and Becky really does not need to win, which is going to continue to keep Charlotte's heel status where it's at, basically starting a problem between Naomi and Charlotte. And that's going to set up for Battleground or Money in the Bank, whichever one it is that's going to be the next pay-per-view, because I know it's supposed to be Extreme Rules and then something and a Great Balls of Fire, and then I've lost count and track. So I'm going with the welcoming committee of Natalya, Carmella, and Tamina. Now, you have the Usos versus Breezango. And you're picking up a number one contendership by winning a two-match beat-the-clock challenge. So there really is no build-up. Breezango they're more or less a penciled-in opponent. So you're going to have to look for the Usos to win, especially with the New Day coming, because that's going to set up between the New Day and the Usos something I think is just going to be phenomenal and fantastic, and it's going to be a great in-ring action due to the contrast of styles. So I'm going to say that the Usos are going to take this one. Now, you're going to have, the next one you're going to have is Shinsuke Nakamura versus Dolph Ziggler. Now, it's funny because the WWE decides to announce Shinsuke Nakamura's debut match 6 weeks after joining SmackDown. And it's going to be against Ziggler due to their ongoing feud, and obviously Shinsuke is going to win. They're not going to have him debut his first match and lose. Not going to happen. And they're not going to give Dolph Ziggler the win. And it's a shame because they're pushing it, and Dolph Ziggler has only, been used as a ladder, so to speak, and it's pointless. And so I'm going to just basically go with Shinsuke. Shinsuke's going to get a push. Shinsuke's going to end up in the title picture at some point, and I feel like it's going to be him and Baron Corbin down the road. Once Baron Corbin takes the belt off of Randy Orton. That's just how I see it. Now, so I'm going with Shinsuke Nakamura there. Now, you're going to have your United States Championship match, Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles. Now, after Kevin Owens' title from Jericho on SmackDown, he slides right into a match against AJ, who's already captured the number one contendership. Now, it would be really strange to see Owens drop the strap quickly, as he can really do something with this character that he's portraying now, the face of America. He really can do something in terms of, like I stated before, the circa 2007-2008 Chris Jericho. The suit and tie, face of the company, the man that is going to bring life back to the United States Championship again, which the irony is that Kevin Owens made his debut against the last man that made something of the United States Championship, and that man was John Cena. And Kevin Owens got his win. So I don't know if anybody realizes that, but it's a pretty interesting piece of information. Well, I don't really see Kevin Owens, not only for that reason, winning against AJ Styles, but because of the fact there was no build-up. You're looking at a build-up of maybe necessarily a week. So there's no need to really put the belt on AJ Styles right now. If you're going to put the belt on AJ Styles, do it at SummerSlam. Build it up. We all already know that AJ Styles is going to end up with the United States Championship at some point, because not only do they want to make him a world champion, but they want to give him other gold. And tag gold is not the way I see it going. So my vote right now is going for AJ Styles. Now, thus far, what I have just gone through is the pre-show match between Aiden English and Ty Dillinger. Like I've stated, I'm taking Ty Dillinger. You have Baron Corbin versus Sami Zayn. Now, like I said, due to the momentum that Baron Corbin is on, seeing as I really haven't seen him lose very often on SmackDown or even Raw when he was wrestling on Raw, I see the momentum going in Baron Corbin's favor. Now, as far as the 6-women tag match, like I've stated, to me, there's no reason for the face team to win, so they're going to give it to Natalya, Carmella, and Tamina, especially due to the fact that it's going to set up for Charlotte versus Naomi in the future, possibly SummerSlam. I'm not sure, depending on the build-up. Now, like I stated before, with the tag team championship, there's no reason to give it to Breezango and Tyler Breeze just yet. It's especially with the New Day coming. and they're going to give the Usos a legitimate run. And I think due to the nostalgia of SummerSlam for the New Day, I think that the New Day is going to end up taking the tag titles off of the Usos at SummerSlam and starting another long title run for SmackDown, which I'm okay with. And also, like I stated, for Shinsuke and Dolph, it's sad that they're faltering Ziggler. They're pushing him down the pole. They're not doing much with him. At least give him, a longer title run than what he had with the Intercontinental title. But Shinsuke is going to win. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to eventually set up for Shinsuke and Baron Corbin, if they're going to set up for Shinsuke and Kevin Owens. I do know this, though, that at WrestleMania you will see Shinsuke versus AJ Styles, which I think is going to be an amazing match in its own because it's reminiscent of their match in New Japan. Now, if you haven't had the opportunity to check that out, I suggest going on YouTube and looking up Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles. You will be blown away. And speaking of AJ Styles, and like I just stated before, Kevin Owens is going to win this match. There's no doubt about it. Like I said, it just doesn't make sense to take the belt off him yet. Now, you're looking at the main event of Randy Orton versus Jinder Mahal for the WWE Championship. Now, while Orton was completing his feud with Bray Wyatt, Mahal was becoming the number one contender for the strap after winning a six-man number one contenders match. All I can say is if Mahal wins, it will be the biggest shock or upset that I have seen in the WWE in a long time. And is it due to the fact of their business that's going on in India right now, to the fact that they're trying to open up to the Indian market? And really the only guy that they have on that roster that can even cater to them is Jinder Mahal because of his heritage coming from there? Sure, that could be the main reason. Do I think that Jinder Mahal deserves it for the way he's improved? Sure, but some can argue that he has no place being in the title hunt, let alone for the WWE Championship. Now, I think the match is going to be great. I think you're going to be shocked and surprised about how things happen and how things turn around. But if Orton wins it, it's going to be solely based upon backstage politics, I feel. Not only that, but Orton hasn't really held the belt long. He held it at, he got it at WrestleMania. So it's more or less a month-and-a-half reign. And I don't think they're going to give him his 13th reign for just a month and a half. Now, if Mahal wins it, like I stated, it's going to be the shock of a lifetime. But if he does win it and he does hold it, it's only as a transitional champion. It's only to give Orton his 14th reign. Because if you think about it, John Cena is a 16-time champ. Triple H is a 15-time champ. Maybe he's a 14-time. One or the other. But they're slowly transitioning these three stars of Triple H, Randy Orton, and John Cena to hold the most championships, which is not exactly great for the company. But I'm going to go with the upset on this one, and I'm going to say Jinder Mahal takes it because it's something they need. It's something that has to be done in order to keep reactions and keep the fans wondering what's going to happen. So those are my guesses for this week's TakeOver and this week's Backlash. Now, tomorrow, I get the privilege of sitting down with the NWA Smoky Mountain Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, New Japan Pro Wrestling star, NWA star, multiple Junior Heavyweight Championship, and Bullet Club member, Chase Owens. Now, this is a privilege nonetheless because, I mean, we've had guys like Lance Hoyt. We've had guys like Shane Taylor, Keith Lee, Matt Sigmund. You know, we've had Jimmy Corderas, Sonny Ono, Dave Penzer. You know, we've had the old-timers like Ricky Morton and Del Wilkes and Jimmy Valiant and Brian Christopher. But, you know, to have a guy that is in a group that has been around for as long as they have, who he's held gold almost everywhere he's been, and he just keeps rising to the top. I mean, he's a 10-year veteran. He has stepped foot in almost every organization, whether it be one match or multiple matches. Now, I get the privilege of speaking with him tomorrow, finding out where his career started, where he sees his career going, what it was like to team with Kenny Omega, his thoughts on Marty Scurll joining the Bullet Club, and Adam Cole being dismissed, so to speak. We get to discuss, you know, where he sees his future going. Would he ever touch the WWE, knowing where he's at in his career right now? Would he ever go to Impact? Would he ever go into Ring of Honor again? You know, these are all questions that we want to know. We want to, you know, we're going to ask him and speak to him about where he sees the industry at today compared to when he started. So everybody, please check that out tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Remember, Bullet Club member Chase Owens. Now, for those listening and want to know where to reach us, you can reach us at Twitter at BodySlamTheComp. You can reach me on Twitter at Jetsman84, JETSMAN84. You want to see somebody on here? Let me know who it is. I'll reach out to them and I'll see what I can do. You can also follow us on YouTube at BodySlamTheCompetition.com. You can check out all of our videos, all of our reviews, all of our interviews, all of our, you know, anything that we have posted. Hey, I think even some of Mike's rants might still be up there. But also, you can follow us on Instagram at BodySlamTheCompetition, Facebook at BodySlamTheCompetition, and Blog Talk Radio /BodySlamTheCompetition. And if you're listening, you're already there. And don't forget to hit the follow button underneath of our profile picture so you can get emails and updates of when we're going live. Also, be sure to check out our Patreon account. Donate some money. Help us get some people on here that you want to see. $50, you know, gets you a sit-in for an interview with somebody, and you yourself get to ask them questions. $25, your name gets thrown in a hat to sit in on a Monday Night Raw or Smackdown review show with us. And there are other amounts for different dollar amounts and stuff we will be setting up for, you know, future Patreon account members, whether it be private videos or, you know, exclusive content. Now, be sure to check that out as well. And don't forget, this Sunday, I will be sitting down with the old Chris Adams and Mike Currents to do our roundtable on Sunday. Now, this Sunday, we will be discussing, actually, no, I'm sorry, we will not be having the roundtable discussion this Sunday in terms of our weekly theme. But this Saturday night, I will be doing my NXT TakeOver review show. So be on the lookout for that. And Sunday night, Chris, Mike, and I will be sitting down reviewing the Backlash pay-per-view. So be sure to be on the listen for that. Now, I want to thank everybody for listening tonight. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank all of our listeners at home, all of our followers, anybody that reaches out to us. And I will be speaking once again with Bullet Club member Chase Owens tomorrow. Sorry, Chris, I was going to say something about you not being here tonight, you slacker, in the midst of trying to say something about Chase Owens. So, tomorrow, Bullet Club member Chase Owens, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. See you there, ladies and gentlemen.